Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey, sister, how you doing? We back, girl.
Yes, hey sister, doing great, just not on vacation anymore.
I know that's right. Well, I know that I probably did not share this with as many people as I normally would pre-show, and I don't have my phone here with me to hit them up real fast. So hit up a couple people and say, hey, sister, we are back. We are live tonight, and we want you to join us. So if you out there watching the show, like, follow, and subscribe to Hey Sister. You can find us on all the social media platforms at Hey Sister. And we also want you to join the conversation in the comments. That's where the action happens, in the comment section. So, sister, we missed a week. Tell me what's up. It's been a while.
It has been a while. So last week I was in Los Angeles with my team that will be joining us very soon to discuss our progress on Thibodeauville, the documentary that I've been working on now. Seems like for a long time, but it actually hasn't been that long. So to Thibodeauville, the story of the Thibodeau massacre, race riot, resilience, and resilience. If you haven't followed us on social platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, please do so.
Yes, we can't wait to have you all join us for that, to have that conversation. Very timely. Hey, Teal Holden, thanks for tuning in tonight. Please make sure you like, follow, share, tell all your friends, tune in. This is a really important conversation that we want to have this evening. Until we too wish we were still back on vacation. I'm sure you do as well. But in typical Hey Sister fashion, we want to start tonight's episode with a few hot topics. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on hot topics because we want to really get to the heart of the conversation we want to have this evening. But first things first, it's HBCU homecoming season. So
Yeah.
you shout it out. Woo, 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 woo. HBCU homecoming season. Look, she got on her bling shirt. Tell them when your homecoming is, sister.
This week we begin homecoming festivities at the Southern University and A&M College with our game being on Saturday. And I'm not planning to attend because of obviously some miscommunication on, but um, prayerfully, my Jaguars will be victorious. I did get a chance to watch them. I'm so excited that we can watch these HBCU games on ESPN. I mean, that's the least they can do because they too have been clowning along with the
Many
rest.
others that we will talk about for
Yes.
sure. Well, I'm super excited because Xavier University of Louisiana, our homecoming is starts at November 3rd through the 7th. I'm super excited once again to be on the planning committee and just so excited about what we have in store. We have some really exciting and great things in store for you. So if you haven't registered, it's you still got time. Registration ends on October 22nd. So make sure you go online, sign up. There are some free events you can sign up for, as well as those that are paid events that you can sign up for. So register. If you plan on coming on, if you plan on putting a pinky toe on the yard, you need to register for something because we got some really strong COVID protocols in place to keep you safe. And that's what's most important. There still is a pandemic going on. And then, my husband just got back from his homecoming, and y'all know, like, we can listen. Y'all showing up or what? That's all I want to know. Y'all showing up or what? Because I will say, I will give it to JSU. They showed up and showed out.
They did. They look like they missed each other, but I ain't see everybody wearing a mask in there. That's all I'm gonna say.
They had some mask in there. They definitely
So,
did. Yeah, well, hey, there's always going to be those who choose not to, or hey, maybe they got their booster already. Who's getting a booster? I'm
when
about to,
the
I'm about to get that.
Moderna.
I'm about to get that flu and that booster. And if they won't give me a shingles and anything else, come on, let's get it all. I'm ready to be free. I'm ready to be free. So, but shout out to HBCU homecoming season. We had hoped that we would be able to do a HBCU homecoming tour this year, but
Yes.
because we still with COVID, we gonna have to put that on pause and plan that for another time when we can really be free and step on everybody's campus free and clear. The other hot topic we want to get into, because we didn't come to you last week, is the closer. So y'all have probably heard every commentary under the sun about Dave Chappelle's final Netflix special. It was a part of a deal he signed with Netflix, which, again, listen, he shut down his show on Comedy Central because he said he felt like, hey, no, people were no longer laughing with him, they were laughing at him. He walked away from the money to get a bigger deal, got the bigger deal, got the dollars, and basically said what he wanted to say. Now, good, bad, or indifferent, that's one of my main takeaways. He secured the bag, and when you have that type of security, it gives you a certain level of freedom and comfort. Um, I don't believe that he is transphobic. I'll say that. I do believe that he has some opinions that others that don't believe in, and some people don't really find him very funny. I'm one of those people. I don't really find everything he's very funny. To me, he's more of a person who has social commentary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having a conversation. It's the social commentary. But I will say that what I main takeaway and what is definitely rooted in it is he is tired of Black people being abused and overlooked. Period. And he don't care what community group you come from or what community. Is he missing the complexity of intersectionality? Yes. And we could have that conversation for another day. But no one ever said he was a scholar. Okay. And because of that, a lot of things he's going to say the way he's going to say them. So that's my main takeaway. Main takeaway is that when the jokes are about Black people, it's still funny to too many of us, even those of us who are Black. What about you, sister?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that last point more. I'll start by saying that I'll take the words of one Mr. Donnie Rose, who I've pointed to. He's a poet from Baton Rouge who I think is just spot on so often. And he just said, simple concept. If you are not a member of an offended group, you cannot really tell a member of any offended group what they can or should not take offense to, not your lived experience, not your call to make. So I'll start by saying that. Not my call to make to say whether or not people should or should not be offended by what they heard in the closer. But what I will say is, number one, first point that Mr. Chappelle did make is before you get offended, actually watch the program and have actual points from it to say, this is what offended me about it. Now, that there are nuances there, because right, if you watch, that means you voted with your eyeballs and you've given that person another view. And so I get that aspect of saying, you know what, I'm just not going to watch at all. But then if you don't watch at all, then I would say, then it's kind of hard to make a decision that you're offended. You may say, listen, based on what I've seen in the past, I've chosen not to follow this person or listen to this person, and that's okay. The second thing, I think you made the point. I mean, he's obviously feeling like, I'm very tired of Black people being treated differently. And not that anybody, we shouldn't be running the oppression Olympics, but to see who comes in first place. But I think at the same time, a lot of the points that he made, as we'll get into some of these other hot topics, have been coming out in other experiences and other news stories that have been happening. So to your point, intersectionality, did he miss it? Absolutely. But is he the go-to person on topics related to intersectionality? No. But I will say he is a comedian with a voice and a platform, and he's decided to use his platform to speak on certain social commentary that he's allowed to do. So I encourage everybody, just like we're doing here with Hey Sister, use your platform to let your voice be heard.
Yeah. And so, I think it was Malcolm X who made the statement about chickens coming home to roost.
Well, there's been a few folks who've made comments about chicken coming home. I mean,
Yeah, well, and so I'm going to kind of weave that in because I'm gonna say it without saying it by saying y'all got a Dr. Dre halftime show. So you talked about your eyeballs. I've been stopped watching the game. I see you got that Saints thing behind you and all of that behind you. I ain't been watching them no more for a number of years now. And in this past week, comments came to light from one former now NFL coach, Mr. John Gruden. Um, there were racist remarks or racist tropes. And as a 56-year-old man, he knows that they are stereotypes and tropes that he was peddling about the NFL Players Association, who was that person at the time when those comments were made, because these comments came from years ago. And then more comments started to come to light. And he ultimately said he didn't want to be a distraction and he resigned. But when he made he chickens come home to roost. I believe in my heart of hearts, until the NFL does right by one Colin Kaepernick, all this is still is this is going to be a slow drip every time. But y'all got we got a Dr. Dre halftime show.
so just one point about this stuff here. Yes, when I did attend the Saints Super Bowl game, yes, the Saints in the Super Bowl at the time. I absolutely was a diehard fan. They're always the home team. I'm always going to cheer for the Saints. However, yes, the NFL as an institution is problematic. And I think what the John Gruden comments that were part of the 650,000 email investigation that layers general counsel and right hand to Roger Goodell, plus the Washington football president, and many things that he got away with because of their buddy relationship. It really speaks to the paternalistic, the misogynistic, all of the stuff that we can't, racist, homophobic. The NFL has some deeply entrenched issues, like many organizations, like many businesses in corporate America. And what it tells me, if not anything, is number one, yes, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, sure the halftime show is going to be off the charts. However, we still don't have a seat at the table. And what the NFL is to me is indicative of a bigger issue in corporate America, and that's the lack of diversity amongst the executive ranks.
Yeah. But also to the point that and I shared it on our page last week that Tiffany Cross made about black faces versus black voices. Yes. You had a black face at the table, but you didn't have a black voice at the table. And y'all need to know what the difference is. If you forget the word diversity, because diversity happens because we're all diverse, right? We all have something that's different about us, right?
Yes.
But it's not inclusive or creating a sense of belonging at all. And so
yes. Great. I could have said diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. All of those elements.
Yeah. Thank you for the pandering. It's going to be a nice show because that's Dr. Dre of the heyday. All those people who he produced. Thank you for the show, but we ain't moved the needle at all, and y'all still got issues in your organization. And also what it tells me, because we know Colin Kaepernick, they settled with him out of court, that his team was privy to some of these emails and these messages. And there's more to come because the cheerleaders from the Washington football team are suing as well. So there's more to come and more to come. Well, since you asked, what is Colin doing now? That's going to be the last of our hot topic. New Netflix special, which is directed by Ava DuVernay. It's a project that they've done together called Colin in Black and White. I put his whole name there, but the show is going to be called Colin in Black and White. It will be airing soon on Netflix. I'll find the exact date and drop it in. And it's going to be about his story, his coming up in high school, his struggle with being in raised in a white world but living in black skin. And it's going to be about that interplay, that intersectionality, and some of the things that happened in his life journey that shaped and molded him into who he is. That's the thing. We are complex human beings. We're diverse in our own rights, just in and of our own being, right? And so for us to continue to not recognize each other's humanity is problematic all the way around. And I really believe until that institution does right by him, it is going to continue to have issues.
Well, I unfortunately I am not as optimistic as you in that regard that they will have issues, because unfortunately I don't think that they consider these issues. I think they consider these to be inconveniences. um but it's there are just way too many again, and I'll include myself in this. You know, we heard about the misogyny and the sexism. There are too many women who are still fans of the NFL. We know about the racism. There's way too many black people, specifically black men, who can identify with a Colin Kaepernick on any given day, and their issues with race in America. Too many are still fans of the NFL. And like I said, back to the halftime show, when one Mr. Sean Carter was given the opportunity to play this role, he was supposed to come in and do all these things in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging from an NFL standpoint. All we get is some Hispanic folk or Latinx folks who did a halftime show 2 years ago or last year, whenever it was, and then now some black folks doing the halftime show. So I don't think they see that as these as issues, because at the end of the day, they've had even deeper things happen over the last few years, and they've somehow continued to persevere.
Like Joe, who wants to watch a wife beater? That's what
A
Joe.
lot of people.
Hmm. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. Well, that is it for our hot topics tonight. We thank you for watching and listening. We want to see more of your comments in the conversation. So drop your comments in as we go along the way. We had another comment here too. I think is really important. I think it's important that voices be heard, but I also agree that we need to know what we're talking about when we speak out. You can't criticize a book if you haven't read it. And that's just so very powerful. And really, with all of these conversations that we're having, that, people are so quick to judge, make a statement, and, share an article without even reading it. Reply to someone's comment without even saying, really dissecting it or hearing it from that own person, because you'll get a snippet in a clip and have taken the whole thing out of context.
Folks will read the headline and won't even click on the article. I mean, somebody cousin's friend in Trinidad said something about the vaccine, and then that made the news. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce our guest for this evening before we bring her on the stage and we talk about a cancer survivor's journey.
yes, so I am honored to bring on my fellow Southernite, my fellow Beta Psi chapter, undergraduate chapter soror, who is actually my big sister, Miss Felicia Brumfield. And Felicia has been just, she can tell us about her professional life. But what I will say is, the HBCU community, as we all can attest to, sometimes it's big, but sometimes it's really intimate and very small. And Felicia was just one of those people who, the moment you step on campus, you knew who she was, because she was beautiful and she was kind, and she just had a wonderful spirit about her. And that's who she was then, and that's who she is today. So I'm so happy to have her on Hey Sister today.
All right. Well, welcome to the show, Felicia. And she
Oh,
said Felicia Brumfield. So it's Felicia Brumfield Gaff, because that's what Gaff is what's showing on the screen. So we want to make
Yes.
yeah, we don't confuse the folks out there because they're gonna be like, who y'all talking about? So
Yes.
Felicia, welcome to Hey Sister.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, Christina, for those sweet words.
yeah.
So, I guess
Well, we
I'm
want you
excited
to
to
tell
be
us your
here.
story. Just jump on in and tell us your story. You know, we want to,
Okay.
tell us who you are, what you do, and then tell us, yeah, we'll get into all the other aspects, but just, kind of tell us who you are.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, as Christina said, I'm a graduate of the Southern University. I am an educator. I graduated in education. I taught for about 11 years, and since then, I've been in administration. I've been a curriculum person, and now I am a tech integration support person. So, kind of help teachers planning their lessons and using technology, especially after this pandemic. The support really needed. I also decided to become a photographer. I started that with my firstborn, taking pictures of him, and fell in love with it and decided I wanted to learn how to take really good pictures of him playing basketball and my youngest son playing basketball, and just fell in love with it. So I do photography, also do skincare, and the skincare that I use and that I sell is called Alcone. And I'm going to tell you all more about that because that is actually a part of my journey that I'm about to share. And so I have two little boys. Well, they're not little anymore. I like to call them little, but they are 12 and 15. The 15-year-old will be 16 on the 25th, and he is driving. So imagine how my nerves are at this moment in time. But like I said, my journey is possibly different from other people's journey because when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, it was my second cancer. And so I was diagnosed with cancer my senior year of high school.
Mm.
And I went to St. Jude for a few years, just getting my treatment and just follow up visits, which St. amazing. And today is
Uh-oh. Is it my computer?
No, you still hear me?
I still hear you.
Okay, I think we got a bad connection.
Okay. I'm
Can you
hoping
send her?
that, yes. I was hoping it was going to pop back on.
We just was getting to the good part.
I know.
All right. Well, I'm gonna drop her out of frame right now
Okay.
until she comes back and tell us. So I didn't know that she had had a previous
Yeah, I
about.
think she mentioned it to me yesterday when we were talking, and it was something that I hadn't, if I knew, I had not remembered. So
Mhm.
um and so that, yes, because in our conversation we were just talking about how you and I were saying there's so many women, black women particularly, young black women of late that we've known who have been dealing with breast cancer diagnosis, and then we were just trying to say how do what do you think it is, and what's sort of the commonality, because as you and I know, we have natural hair. Felicia's like also natural and things like that. And so she was saying how she and some other women that she's close to, that um, they started trying to compare notes because they all kind of had gotten diagnosed around the same time, and so they were all
Well,
trying to compare.
I dropped a link in there around that really kind of goes in some of those statistics around African American women and breast cancer. So African American women have a 31% breast cancer mortality rate, which is the highest of any ethnic group. And among women younger than 35, breast cancer incidence is higher among African American women than white women. So there's most definitely something that is happening. And then usually we have one of the most aggressive forms. So Felicia is back, so I'm gonna bring her back on. All right, we got you
All
back.
right. So, yeah, I was. I don't know what happened. I was.
Oh no. So we're gonna have to, I'll probably have to say, if she's got other devices on, we gotta turn everything else on.
Yeah, yeah. She's frozen again.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so what Katrina dropped in here is that I think it has to be something we all have in common somewhere. And one of the things, if you when you click on that link in the article, it does talk about some of the products that we might use in terms of on our skin, hair relaxers. And there was a time when we relaxed our hair. Some of the Brazilian blowout treatments, acrylic nails, and y'all know we love a bunch of people love their nails, you know. And so all of those exposures, I think, to toxicity. I know there's also things out there about the aluminum in the deodorants and what have you. So there's all of these things that we have in common, that could be contributing factors, especially to why then we get the most aggressive forms, right? And not just other forms that other women of other ethnic groups get. And then we're going to talk more about diagnosis and treatment, but there's definitely something also about, and you and I talk, we want to do a whole episode of Hey Sister about it, is how we interface with the medical community. Right? Because there's definitely something there. All right, we're coming back one more time.
One more again. Let's hope so. I'm trying to
Yeah,
turn
I don't know
everything
what's
off. I don't
happening.
think I even have anything else on. So we'll see. But like you're saying, like it is very often that when a Black woman has been diagnosed with breast cancer, it is a more aggressive breast cancer. And like I was telling Christina, so many women now are being diagnosed with breast cancer that is below the age range that they said we should even start having mammograms, let alone people who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. I'll share my story and I'll share that part also. So, like I said, my senior year of high school, I was diagnosed with cancer. I was treated with radiation to the chest. Well, the two things that both of them caused was the chemotherapy. They said that I was in a higher risk category of being infertile. And then the chest radiation put me in a higher risk category for breast cancer or a second cancer of some sort. So, fast forward 25 years, I went through my treatments, nothing for 25 years. I was actually I think I had just announced or celebrated, being cancer free for 25 years and all the things that I've learned on the journey and stuff like that. And not even a month later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so the thing about it, and like what Christina was saying, she saw was because of the exposure of radiation that I had to my chest, I was going to get mammograms starting at 25. And then from 25 to about 32, I did just mammograms. At around 32, I started doing mammograms. They would sometimes do an ultrasound, and then they would also do breast MRI every 2 to 3 years. So as older, they started becoming more aggressive with their search and trying to make sure that everything was looking right. So this time I went to the doctor for my annual visit. I was going to get a mammogram and a breast MRI. I went in, had the mammogram, got the results. It was normal. And so with the breast MRI, you have to wait until you have had your cycle. I guess because of something with the readings. So I had to wait another 2 weeks after that in order to get my breast MRI. When I got the breast MRI, they saw spots on both breasts. And so they wanted to just make sure that what they were seeing, if it was or wasn't cancer. I had very dense breasts, and so sometimes that gives a false positive. A lot of times it gives women false positive, and so that's what they were trying to figure out, because I had mammograms or breast MRIs that had shown something before, but it always came up to be maybe just like a cyst or something, or just a lump of just I guess breast tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was nothing to worry about. So this time they went in, they did the ultrasound. The ultrasound showed the spots again. So they decided that they were going to do an autopsy and take a biopsy. Lord. I would say they went and did a biopsy, and the biopsy came back. They did 2 spots on my left breast, and both spots came back cancer. So because I had the 2 spots on my left breast and then I had a spot on my right breast, because I had already had radiation to the chest, my skin and everything could not tolerate another round of having radiation. So if the treatment, based on what they found, they would give me, the only treatment that I had a choice of would have been chemotherapy. So after, going round and round, and the thing about being diagnosed with cancer and hearing the doctor come into the room and tell you it's cancer, it's like every word after that is like want, 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 want. Like it's almost like an out of body experience. And for me, having it this time was different than me having it in high school, because I have more. Now I have 2 little boys that I have to raise. And so that just kind of put me into a whole different mindset. So once we finally had all the conversations and things like that, because I was still in the shock. I was like, that it has to be wrong. The mammogram was normal. This cannot be right, or whatever. And so, that she kept going through, and I really like my doctor, because she is one of those people. She's a no nonsense type person, but she's very calm. She's very patient. And so she'll answer all of your questions and things like that. So I was there with my sister and my husband at the time, and I had to come back for another visit to just talk to her one-on-one, because I was just like, I have a lot of questions, because after you said cancer, everything went away. Like I just started thinking of all the things that I had on my plate, and I started thinking about my work, my children, just all these kinds of things. So when I talked to her, she was saying that her recommendation would be a double mastectomy. Now, y'all know, as women, that is precious to our womanhood as far as losing your breast. And so I was thinking, like, oh my God, like a mastectomy, you can't. There has to be something else that we can do other than a mastectomy. And so after talking to her, and then that's when my support system came in, and my girlfriends, and when I was telling them about everything, and they were like, whatever you need to do, do it. They were very open with the conversation that I had. I didn't feel like I had to be sensitive or be strong for them. I was able to cry if I felt like I needed to cry. I was able to be vulnerable and everything. And so I decided to do a mastectomy, even though the doctor wanted me and said that I would just do the single mastectomy on the side that had cancer. But the thing about it is that for those 25 years, I'm sorry, y'all, my sons keep coming running here. Don't come up in here again, please. Okay, get it. Goodbye. Thank
Like
you.
she said, she's a mother of two, so y'all know how it is.
I'm
I know
sorry.
Lakeisha's in
But
the comments. She's a mother of two boys, so y'all know how it is. As soon as you start doing something, here they come.
exactly 50 million times. I'm like, y'all don't ever come up in here like that. So whatever. But like I said, so I elected to do the double mastectomy, and during, like I said, I did it because for those 25 years from when I was diagnosed in high school to being diagnosed with breast cancer 25 years later, like I lived, like my fear, my anxiety, like everything like skyrocketed, because everything that a normal person would think about, like I would think about the worst case scenario of that. And so everything brought about fear of death, pretty much. And so I didn't want to go off to college because what if something happens and no one is there to help me? Or what if something happens to somebody else? So I was even projecting my fear on things happening to other people that I cared about and that I loved. And so I kept myself in this box and kept making safe decisions versus decisions of things to do. And so it made me develop almost, I don't want to say an alter ego, but there were two Felicias existing. There was the sick Felicia who was existing, and then there was the Felicia who wanted to be just like everybody else, hanging with everybody, doing all the things that a normal person would be doing at my age. And like I said, it was my coping mechanism, but it also brought me into depression. And so doing that, and it's just like things started spiraling. And so I was just like, after having those 25 years, and I finally felt like I started getting on the right track towards what my happiness looks like for me and not what it looks like for everybody else. I decided that I was going to do both breasts because I don't want to live in that anxiety and that fear for another however many years it may take, and it may have never come back. But that, to me, now that I look back on it, that would have been even worse because I would have been living in this bubble, probably with a double force field around the bubble, in fear of I may have to go through it a third time. And so I always say that God put me through cancer and through breast cancer because he wanted to show me that your greatest fear can come and you can still conquer it. Like you're not as weak as you think you are. And so when you get when I put you on this journey, I put you on this journey. I'm about to get emotional. I'm sorry. But he's like, I put you on this journey for a reason. I put you on this journey to show you the strength that you don't realize that you have, but I also want you to be able to reach other people's lives. I want you to be able to help other women through this journey. And I was just like, God, like I said, if you me have this and allow me to come on the other side of this, I promise that I will use this journey to support and to help and to educate other women that either have not gone through it or hopefully even help someone to get an early diagnosis so they won't have to, get to the point of having an aggressive cancer and also possibly losing their life from it. And so once I had the double mastectomy, the cancer had not spread to my lymph nodes. And so once they took out all the breast tissue and stuff, there was no more evidence of cancer, and it was at stage 1. So they caught it extremely early, and they were like, because they saw the 2 spots, but what they saw when they went in was that it really was just one mass. But the way that where it was, you could see it looked like it was 2 separate mass, but it was just one. And so I didn't have to do chemotherapy. I didn't have radiation. The only thing that I did was I did the double mastectomy, and I take tamoxifen, which is almost like a hormone control drug, almost like a chemotherapy, because my cancer is super attracted to estrogen. And so that's what a lot of cancer, why it's kind of hard on us when we start going through, especially menopause, which is why breast cancer was pushed back to getting tested later in life and diagnosis, because it was something that happened when our hormones and are out of whack, and then with estrogen kind of out of control too, that all those things. And so I was telling Christina that I knew like 5 people at the time who had either been through breast cancer, and 2 of the ladies were going through it right after me. And so just kind of having conversations to try and see what was the common link to us all having breast cancer around the same age. We all lived in Baton Rouge. Was it something in the environment? Was it something that we were eating? Was it something that we were using? And of course, we couldn't pinpoint what it was, but it also made us all hypersensitive to the conversation and to sharing our journey with other people. And so now I always, find an opportunity to either post something, a video, or post a message or something, or even just share a part of my journey on Facebook or Instagram, because I don't want it to be said that I didn't speak up to try to save someone else's life. And so, like I said, I always suggest, don't just mammogram, at least get the 3D mammogram, because the 3D mammogram is more sensitive, and it will be able to pick up on smaller cancer cells that the mammogram can't pick up. If you're uncomfortable with what the results are, have the conversation with your doctor versus just kind of blocking it out, because a lot of women know people who have gone through breast cancer, and unfortunately they prefer to not know than to actually get into the doctor's office, have the exam, and if there is something there, that they caught it early enough to treat it and to be able to still have a full life afterwards. So, like I said, I just wanted to make sure that I was trying to share my story and share my journey, and to let people know, don't just trust a regular mammogram, because like I said, I had a normal mammogram, and within 2 weeks later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer because the mammogram didn't pick it up. So just make sure that you have a stronger test than just a regular mammogram. A breast MRI may not be something that someone who does history of cancer would be able to do. Well, the insurance company may not pay for that, but you can make a recommendation for a 3D mammogram, which now, I spoke to my doctor about it. She said that more insurance companies, because of the rise.
A 3D mammogram or a 3D ultrasound?
A 3D mammogram.
Okay. 3D mammogram. So, right there. Okay. I'm typing it in the comment here.
Yeah. So like I said, that so it's just like the fact that you are able to be proactive with stuff. You have to be proactive, and you have to make sure that you're educated and that you know. But like I said, the doctor was saying that 3D mammograms are becoming more popular, and insurance companies are paying for them because of the rise in women being diagnosed with breast cancer, especially in the African American community. And
Well,
like I
Jill
said,
here says 3D mammograms are now covered by almost every insurance for your wellness exam. She works for a major healthcare system in Texas. So y'all make sure you check with your healthcare insurance and your
yes,
insurance in your whatever your coverage you have. Lakeisha said, thanks for sharing the types of tests breast cancer runs in my family. And so, like you said, so you've already accomplished what you set out to accomplish because you educated somebody about the different types of mammograms that they should receive. And it's so very, you talked about that you had already had a cancer diagnosis. So you had been on this for years, having this higher level of testing. Um, did you do, even though you were having those higher level of testing, were you doing regular self breast exams? Because
I
they tell
was
us to do them all the time, and I'm gonna be
I
honest,
was doing my regular. I said, well, let me tell you, like I said, my anxiety and my paranoia like went up to 1,000,000. And
Mhm,
so when I would like, wait, do I feel a lump? Is that a lump? That's a lump. I got to go to the doctor. What is
mhm,
that? Wait, what is that? Why is that so? Wait, that doesn't feel too right. Let me go. Like I was crazy with it. And
mhm,
so, and like I said, and even the type of cancer that I had, I would not have been able to detect it by just doing a self exam because it was so small. That's
mhm,
why it's so important to get these sensitive tests like the 3D breast mammogram because it will pick up on things. Because if I had not had the breast MRI at that time, my doctor said that because it wasn't an aggressive cancer, it would have been 2 more years before they probably would have picked it up on the mammogram if I was just having a mammogram, which would have made it not a stage 1, but possibly a stage 2 or stage 3 or even stage 4 or
mhm,
whatever. So they caught it extremely early. And so that's why it's important to start going ahead and having those mammograms. And even like younger women, because you're still exposing your chest to radiation, I would suggest at 30, start having mammograms, and even if you do them every 2 to 3 years, just to have a check in or at least have conversations every year with your gynecologist about, I have a history of cancer in my family. I really just want to stay on top of this because I don't want to wait until it's too late to find out that I have breast cancer. So it's just important to really have those conversations. And so, like I said, when I once I finished having my mastectomy, I also process, and so that was another journey because mentally you see nothing but scars. Like I said,
Mm.
that was my problem from to this day. I can still see the first day I came home and took a bath and I saw my body in the mirror and I saw all the scars and I was like skin and bones because I wasn't eating anything. I was sleeping more than anything. And that image just kind of stuck in my mind, which ended up causing insecurities about my body, about, what do people actually see? What are they thinking? All of those types of things. And so with me having the double mastectomy, it was the scarring and then me thinking, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? Because I said at the time, my husband and I were about to have a separation. And then once I was diagnosed, we decided to put the separation off until all of that was over or whatever. But in my mind, I'm still knowing that, we will be separated and moving towards a divorce. What am I going to do? Like, where am I going to find a man that's going to want to, be intimate with me with having these scars or having these implants that I have? And just, all of those things, like I said, the worst case scenario, you start thinking about it because what people don't talk about is the factor that once you've had cancer, I don't care what age you are, you live with cancer for the rest of your life. You live with the fear of it coming back. You live with the side effects that might possibly trigger something else down the road. You live with the scarring. You live with all of it for the rest of your life. And I suggest also that anybody who has been through it or is going through it or has a family member that's going through it, that you seek help for mental health, because it will play with your mind. It will have you be, like I said, extremely insecure. You will be extremely anxious about stuff. It will trigger all of those things that we talk about when we think about our mental health. It will definitely test your mental health. And so either people, like I did the first time, try to ignore it and try to push it to the side and try to pretend that that wasn't part of my life until I had to deal with it, or you are going to spiral and things that you're not going to even realize are connected to the decisions that you're making are connected to your experience with cancer. Like I said, even with my marriage, my husband and I, we dated a couple of years, but you just never really know what types of questions and what types of things you need to ask. You just know the fairy tale list that you have of who you want your husband to be. And although he met all of those things on the checklist, our chemistry and our communication was not good. And so when I realized that, it was just like, I married because in my head, I may not even be able to have children. I want to have children. He's a great guy. He'll be a good father. He comes from a good family. This is who I need to be married to so I can go ahead and have my babies. And so not thinking long term, not thinking down the line, not thinking any of that. It was just like a survival type thing. It's like, this is what you want. This is what you need to do. And I had just gone to a doctor's appointment at St. Jude, and they told me, she was just like, you don't have time to be trying to further your education. Because I had already graduated from Southern. I was working on my master's degree, and I was working. She have time to further your education. You don't have time to be waiting and dating. If you plan on having children, you need to go ahead and have them today, because you may not even be able to have children. So I am 25 sitting in the doctor's office hearing those words. Of course, mentally, I transitioned from this fantasy world that I was living in, like everything was great, to I got to find a husband and I need to get married so I can have children. And my husband and I were dating at the time. And so I was just like, this is the age that you start making those decisions. And so now, hindsight is, like I said, my husband and I are really good. My ex-husband and I are really good friends, and we're able to really do co-parenting well. But I see the things, because now I'm real with me on the things that I need and what makes me happy and what makes me tick. Now that I know those things, now I can find a partner that I know will work for who I am, and the real me, not the fake me that I've been trying to pretend to be, or that I was trying to fulfill other people's expectations of me to do. So, like I said, the cancer is not just the sickness. It is a whole realm of things that it kind of spirals into if you don't actually not only do your physical health, but also your mental health when it comes to, because actually it's like you're facing death, and you don't know what's going to happen on the other side. You try to think positively, but doctors have to tell you the truth. They have to tell you the possibilities of what could happen, even though it may not happen. I have to tell you this, and so your mind sticks to the worst case scenario part of it. You don't stick to the survivor stories and things. And so, like I said, it's a lot of things that kind of go into it. And so with my Lyme life, I
Well, you
I
just
started.
Hold
said
on
that.
one
You
second.
hold
Hold
on
on.
a second, because we had a comment here
Okay.
first that I want to. It was she had a question first about when should you ask for a 3D mammogram versus standard mammogram, and I think we talked about something, especially with Black women. We hear like, oh, you have dense breast tissue. So if you know you have dense breast tissue, or if you've ever heard that before from your doctor, or even when you've had a mammogram before, because I've had that. Oh, you have dense breast tissue, so we got to do it again. We want to compress you again, or we want to do an ultrasound. If you ever heard that, I think now, even when you're talking to your doctor, it's worth saying, okay, let's take it a step further. Let's get can you order a different type of mammogram?
And I'm going to jump in here too, because that's part of the reason I wanted to have this conversation. So a few years ago, Felicia actually posted, it might have been about 2 years ago, she posted on Facebook, like she mentioned about, really talking about this journey. And that was the first time that I had read somebody say, I have dense breast tissue. So I had this, my mammogram came out fine, but I had to ask for additional testing. And so at that point, I immediately went to, when I had my next well woman's exam, I have an OBGYN locally who is a woman of color. She's not African American, but she is a woman of color. And I said to her, listen, one of my friends posted this about dense breast tissue. And so, I need to understand more about this. And so she was like, okay, yeah, well, I'm in the same boat. I have dense breast tissue as well. We'll order your mammogram, and from there, we'll order you an ultrasound. And so a few days ago, I was like literally having a moment, like, why do they keep putting us through the mammogram? It's one of the most uncomfortable experiences, but because of the way insurance is set up, you have to have the mammogram first before they can order the other test. And I was like, if you got this dense breast tissue, this is something that they know because they've documented it. Why can't we just go straight to the other test? But
And like I said, I would always recommend. I would say, oh, that's a statement. That's up. I would say I would always recommend the 3D. Ask for the 3D period. Like, let's skip all the play stuff. Let's get the real deal. So I would always request the 3D mammogram, because at least like I said, that it is more sensitive. It's going to give you better imaging, and it will hopefully pick up things that a regular mammogram would not pick up. And like I said, hence being able to have an early diagnosis, which has a higher survival rate than a later diagnosis.
Yeah. So there you have it, folks. Always do a 3D. So now is that when we know better, we do better, right? So now we all know better. We can ask for something better. My last mammogram that I had, I was aggravated to the ends of the earth. It always aggravates me, but I had the mammogram, and then they were like, "Oh, well, we see something. We're gonna do the ultrasound," and we did the ultrasound, and then it was like, oh, we see that we still see this little white spot, so you got to go and we got to examine it further, right? Go for a biopsy. And I've never had breast cancer history in our family, but I still was mad and aggravated, and I had a conversation with God too. I was like, listen, God, ain't nobody ever had breast cancer in my family, and I ain't gonna be the first, so I know that's not what we have here. And of course they did it. It was a what they call a lipoma, which is kind of like just fatty tissue kind of collection thing, is what they discovered. But they left a marker, right? They put a marker in your breast, right? So that they know where to go back and look the next time you have a mammogram. And I was so hurt about just even having that marker put inside my body, because I'm like, I gotta, like, again, to your point, I'm going to be thinking about this every time and every test from here on out, right? I got that back in the back of my consciousness, because that spot could be a spot, right? And it's so that's why I think, to your point, we just have to be so vigilant about our health, as well as we should live every day as if we don't know what the promise of tomorrow fully and authentically and true to who you are, because
Mm-hmm.
and not guided by fear. So I really loved how you said that now you living authentically who you are, you can attract that type of partner as well. So I thought
Yeah.
that was real beautiful. But tell us about your Lime Life, because you talked about this about natural skincare and cosmetics and how that has played a part in your journey as well.
Mhm. Well, I would say before I say that, I want to I don't have a history of breast cancer in my family. My grandmother had it, but she was like 90 something or 80 something. So it's one of those things that eventually, with that age, you kind of come across those things, but it wasn't anything that was that's like hereditary. In my, I would say, so a person in my family who had any other type of cancer at the time. And I did the genetics test, and it was not cancer. I didn't have test positive for it being a genetic thing of having, cancer cells. So like I said, it's all the things that you would think like, okay, you're in the safe category, but I've had cancer twice. So
Mhm.
it's like you still have to educate yourself and you still have to be aware of it.
Mm.
But with Lime Life is um, an all natural skincare line, but it also sells. We also sell professional grade makeup, and so I started with Lime Life right before. I started purchasing Lime Life right before I was diagnosed because I just had like some hyperpigmentation in my face and on my neck that I wanted to get rid of. So I was trying, and I was at the point that things that you put on your skin, it'll work for about 6 months, and then after that you don't see any difference in your skin. And so I was looking for something new at the time. And so I decided to try the Lime Life skincare line. And I really, really liked it and liked my results. Well, once I was diagnosed and I had my surgery and everything, like I said, the scarring was one of the things that was like I was just hypersensitive about because, like I said, of what I knew of what my future was going to hold and what I was going to have to deal with trying to find a new mate and all of that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to figure out, what could I do to make the scarring less obvious? Because when I had my double mastectomy, I had everything taken, even my nipples were removed because they were saying she was like it's a 1% chance that you could possibly get. I was like, take it all or whatever. So so I was trying to figure out a way to get rid of those scars, or at least to let my skin blend a little bit more. I never was a keloid person, so I wasn't really worried about keloiding. But I was like, this would be the time that I could get keloids on top of everything else. And so I started using two products that Lime Life sells, and it was their 40 Cure Cream, which is like for any type of skin irritation, scar, and things. And then there's a One Drop Wonder product that is like a booster to enhance the ingredients of any other product that you're using with it. And it just kind of helps to activate it even faster. And so I use both of those on all of my scars, and I was blown away by the results that I received. The change in texture of my skin was feeling normal. The scarring started to blend in. And so after that, I was hooked, and I was just like, I'll sell it. I would say because the person that I was buying from, Destiny, she was trying to get me to sell, and I was just like, I am not gonna sell any product. I said, I don't want to bother nobody. I don't want anybody to bother me. No. But when I did that, I was just like, okay, I'm sold. I was like, I'll try and do it, even though I was still trying to prove to her that I wasn't a good salesperson. I was like, I'm gonna do it for like 2 months. And then I'm like, see, I told you I couldn't sell anything. But I actually did really well my first few months. So I was like, dang it. But like I said, but just the factor of using those products, which made me feel more confident in my skin, which is why I decided I wanted to start selling it. Because number one, like I said, they're all natural products. They help you. They help all women. So it's not just women of color or Caucasian women. It's all women. It helps. And it's all natural. And now, like I said, we don't know what is the cause of cancer. So we don't know if it's some type of pollutant that we're putting in that's in our deodorant, in the lotions that we use, or whatever it is. And so I just really fell in love with the products, and I fell in love more so with the team of women that I was working with, because it reminded me of a sorority. Mm-hmm. And so it made me feel like it was a sisterhood, and it was a place where you could be transparent and you can be vulnerable, and that there were people there who was rooting for you, and people who were trying to help you succeed versus competing against you. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because, like I said, everybody has their own independent business within Lime Life, but everybody is trying to give each other strategies and ways to help them just, succeed and make their business thrive. Okay. That's how I brought Lime Life in. And so, right. And then
Teal says she's one of the Lime Life sisters.
Oh, awesome.
And she said Team YSTB. I guess that's the same team y'all on or something. I don't
know. YSTB.
Yeah.
You're simply the best is what it stands for. But so that gave me the confidence, because I had been doing photography since, like I said, my oldest was a baby, and like I said, he'll turn 16 next month. I mean, on 25th. It gave me the confidence out there and to do my photography as a business as well, because I was just, before, it's always about what are people going to think, and what if they don't like, my photography, and what if they don't, all these kinds of things. But like I said, I had to get out of that mindset, because my photography is my expression of art. And so there will be people who like it, and there will be people who don't like it. And so if they don't like it, they don't have to purchase it, or they don't have to use me as their photographer. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I enjoy it. It is something that is a passion of mine. It is a stress reliever. I enjoy just the factor of capturing moments, because I stalk children. Mm-hmm. So so I'm at a basketball game and I see a little cute boy or a little cute girl, and I'm like, oh, so cute. And so my camera goes from the game, and I'm taking little candid shots of somebody's child. And then I go up to them and like, hey, I've been stalking your child during the game, so I have some pictures. If you would like these pictures, this is my contact information or whatever. So, but like I said, that's the factor of the confidence of being able to put yourself out there and to be vulnerable to other people, because at this point in life, like you said, you never know what the next hour is going to bring, let alone the next day. And why not live your best life being you versus trying to be someone else, or trying to compare your life or your situation to someone else's situation? Be you, be happy, and live life to the fullest, because we just never know.
Yeah. Well, Precious said you have to be your best advocate. So that's best advocate and breast advocate. How about that?
Yes.
Take the time to know your body. Thank you all for bringing this to the forefront, and we thank you for joining us tonight and tuning in, Precious. We appreciate it so much. Well, any final or closing remarks that you'd like to share with the audience? I mean, you've been so vulnerable and transparent, and you've shared so much tonight. I told you the time was going to go by real quick. But anything else that you want to share with the audience about your journey, and more importantly, about what's next for Felicia?
Well, like I said, I'm newly divorced, so I have not gotten back out into the dating world just yet. I'm still trying to get Felicia together, because this is a whole new Felicia now that I am living on my own, and I'd never done that before. So that was that this is a transition for me. So I'm just trying to get myself together before I bring someone else into my life and into, my routine and things. But what I really just want everyone to leave with is to not avoid doctor's visits. Go to the doctor, get yourself checked, have your annual pap smear, have your annual mammogram, get the 3D mammogram, and just, I would say, make sure that you take care of your mental health, because that your mental health, you will be so surprised how strong your mind is and how many games and tricks it can play on you. So you have to make sure that you're mentally healthy as well as physically healthy, because even if your body is well, your mind will tell you that it's not. And that will trigger all types of things. So you don't even want your mind to fool you thinking that something is wrong with you, because it may not be. And so you have to just kind of live life and take chances, take jump. Because say you would have never, I would have never thought that I would be a business owner of 2 businesses and out here putting myself out there, or even sharing my story like this. Like I'm not shy, but I'm not like an extrovert where I just, laugh and talk. I kind of sit back and I'm reserved, and I kind of watch the scene, and I'll warm up, but I'm still not the person to just speak about all of my things that I've been going through. And like I said, it's therapy for me, because I'm not holding it in, and it is hopefully helping someone else. So that is, like I said, I just want as many women as possible to not have to go through what I've gone through, or if you have to go through it, know that you are not alone, and that there are many women out there that are going through the same battle. I'm on a Facebook, and they share their battle with it, because I put on a lot of weight within the last year. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I was trying to not eat and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, because I've never been this size before. And I realized, like I said, it was the tamoxifen that I'm taking. I'm going through menopause. Like I said, I am 46 years of age. So I have all of those factors that say my metabolism is sleep right now.
And we had a year of COVID. I mean, let's just say the past 18 months.
And the pandemic. So I was like, the devil is a lie. This is not my body. I will be losing this weight. So I am on like I said, because my schedule is busy with the boys playing basketball and stuff, and then me doing photography on the side too. And so I just signed up to do a personal trainer, and I'm trying to make some healthier choices with I'm not trying to be on a diet, and I'm not trying, and living in Louisiana, everything comes with rice or french fries or some type of potato and bread. That's what my doctor said. You just have to cut out all of the. I was just like, I know I can't do that, but I can make smarter choices when that is my option. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Awesome.
But I greatly appreciate you all allowing me to share my story with everyone this evening. Like I said, it fills my heart with being able to have conversations with other women about the things that we feel like it's taboo to talk about. And so I enjoy, like I said, I don't catch your show every week, but when I catch it, I am sitting and I'm listening to it. And I think that it is beyond wonderful what you all are doing and the information that you're sharing with women, because we do need to have these conversations, and we need to have someone to start the conversation, because everybody's sitting in the background. So, well, maybe so-and-so said, maybe so-and-so said, or whatever. But like I said, to bring it out on a platform like this is wonderful.
Well, we thank you for joining us. We had a couple more thanks there. Sister, what are your closing comments while I show these?
Yes, thank you so much for your vulnerability. Thank you for coming on and just being completely transparent. We certainly appreciate it, and hopefully, for those of us who know others who are going through this journey, we can be the support system that you all need, and have and you have those opportunities to cry and share and do those things, and be your authentic self throughout the process. Because what you've really illuminated here is that just having the opportunity to deal with your mental health is just as important as your physical health. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, as Felicia said, you may not catch every episode live. That's okay. You can always go back here on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, and watch the replay. Listen to it while you're on during your drive time. But there are some really important conversations that we all need to have, and that's what Hey Sister is all about. It's
Yeah.
for sisters, it's by sisters, and it's about sisters and misters. And if you missed our misters conversation a few weeks ago, I really encourage you to go back and listen to the conversation in my sister absence that I had with Black men, because we talked about their mental health. We've been talking about this a lot lately, and our mental health plays a role in every aspect of our lives, no matter
Yeah.
what. So if you don't catch it live, that's okay. Go back and watch the replay. But we really thank you for being a part of the Hey Sister family. And we're going to sign off for this night. So bye, everybody.
Good night.